I'm Marci Johnson. I'm the director for CTE. Heather Lucan was supposed to join me as well today, but she was not able to join. So if I don't have the answers for you today, I'll take it back to Heather, okay? All right. So today I want to talk about a little bit about Perkins data, just to kind of update you on that. Then talk about the House Bill 3296 that's connected to the college and career pathway endorsements, a little bit about the rules that are coming, the data that's connected to the endorsements, and then components of the college and career pathway endorsement. Dr. Lovett mentioned the fact about the Perkins State Plan, so that was a real opening for me to mention to you that we are in the process of rewriting our Perkins State Plan. We had a webinar, Tuesday, every day runs together, Tuesday on our Perkins State Plan, and any changes that we want to make. And our goal for that is we feel like we had a really good plan in the first place. So our goals are the same as we had before. The only thing that we were changing a little bit was maybe on the goal 3, instead of being just dual credit, but career using articulated credit and dual enrollment, so a variety of things and not just specifically dual credit. So our goal is for that. There's a link that'll be in the PowerPoint. If you want to go to the Perkins 5 State Plan, we will have more information. The webinars will be posted there by Monday. I want to just talk a little bit about the data itself. So we have seen some great improvement in CTE over the last 2 years. Our participant rate in 2002 was 266,448, and now in 2023 we're at 278,543. So we're on the right projection to keep controlling. What excites me more so is the concentrator. So if you know what a CTE participant is, it is a student who participates in one class in CTE. But when you talk about a concentrator, it is a student who participates in 2 classes in a single pathway. So we went in 2022 from 105,517 students to 127,211. That's exciting to know that there's more students who are concentrating in specific areas, and we're getting them ready for a career. And then we have this data when we look at our percentages of different demographics. And I know this is really hard for you to see in the back, but what we've done for all students with CTE is that our graduation rate is higher than an all-student graduation rate. So CTE students are graduating at 95.8%, but students who are not in CTE, the graduation rate is at 89% overall. So, that's another benefit, we think, for CTE students in graduating. But you can also see when you look over here, where we look at the all students, the white students, and the black students, that rate is a little lower. And so you're going to see in some of our data, So then here's our Perkins measures, like I was talking about before. When we look at our data here overall, when you look at either the green or the blue, the green means that we have exceeded or met our performance measures. The blue means that we did it within 90% of the target that we submitted to the U.S. Department of Ed. And then if there was a red, it would mean that we didn't come close to our performance measures. So the green on here, the green bar, is the target that we set to the U.S. Department of Ed 4 years ago. So what we've done is, this is our 4-year plan when we submitted to the U.S. Department of Ed, our initial state plan to the U.S. Department of Ed, our goal. And what you can see is now we're going from 24 to 28, and our progression on how we want to improve. Now, in order to determine our numbers, we've got the 4-year graduation rate and the extended graduation rate. We have academic proficiency in reading, math, and science. We have post-program placement, meaning where are they 6 months after they graduate from high school. The non-traditional program, where students, when there's 25% or more of one area, so like women in welding. So the attainment of post-secondary credits, and then work-based learning. And what we've learned is, how are we doing with our data? Have we collected what we needed to collect? So the academic proficiency, we looked at all students. We felt that we shouldn't single out and expect a CTE student to be higher than the all students. So we've looked at those numbers and tried to average that out. The post-program placement, we connected finally with IDES, and we are now pulling in employment numbers as well as college numbers. So our post-program placement really jumped because we now have a little bit more. But we still didn't get all of our students in there looking at, did they go on to an employment or college. We can't get military, we can't get, we're having trouble, I should say, getting military and like in the Peace Corps. Those are other pieces that would tie to that. The attainment of post-secondary credit, in that one, we included articulated credit. We had not included that before. So that helped strengthen that number. And then our work-based learning, before we were only looking at work-based learning courses. And then this past year we looked at courses that would have embedded, that we knew were embedded based on CNA, cosmetology, barbering. We knew they had to have work-based learning in those, so we're counting those as well. Our next step is to find out what courses actually are embedding it in other areas, and we're working on a data collection for that. So we want to hear your thoughts on this, and so what we've done is we've created a form on our website that you can go in and look at it. What is your thoughts about our measures? Does it look reasonable? Do you have thoughts on maybe, do we not look at the right things? Do they look achievable? And then maybe what can we as a whole do to increase those numbers? Like I said, maybe there's another way to get information out or support or professional development along the way. So I think, Emily, this is posted, right? So people can, so you'll be able to access this, but it's also on our website, on isbe.net/Perkins-V. So, okay. So the next is what we're here about, and that's that the House Bill 3296, or the Public Act 1020917, it was signed on May 27th of 2022. In here, it changed, or it added that we needed to do the PACE framework and bring it down to the 6th grade level. And so we worked with ISAC, and we've been working on how to expand that PACE framework. Then every district needs to offer at least one career pathway endorsement. By July 1 of 2025, they have to start offering that for the graduating class of 2027. Then for the graduating class of 2029, they have to do 2 career pathways. And then any school that has more than 350 will have to offer 3 career pathways. There is an opt-out provision, and there's certain procedures that you'll have to follow, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And we're working on the rules that we will have in place for the college and career pathway endorsement. How many in here are already offering the career pathway endorsement? There's a few of you. Great. So again, we talked about the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act, which was that preceded the House bill. And it includes PACE, which is the post-secondary and career expectation. It included competency-based learning. It included the college and career pathway endorsements and transitional math. And today we'll just talk about PACE and the college and career pathway endorsements. This is the PACE framework. If you haven't seen it, this is the revised one. We have it on our website, but Illinois Student Assistance Commission, the ISAC, also has that on theirs. And this is their, this is a model. Districts can create their own model, but this is a model framework that you can use as a district. And then this is the high school framework, and where a student should be by the end of 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And you can see how things where we should support the student or what the student should know. And then we have the endorsements. So we have a portal online for districts to submit the application. We had an old portal and we're now creating a new one. And the portal will be open now for only those that are going to offer the endorsements this year. Those that are going to offer it for next year, it'll be open by July 1 of 25. You have to submit a plan no later than December 15th for the year that you're going to submit it, or that you're going to award it. So those of you that don't know, what happens is you submit your application to us, and once we approve it, we will give you one of these badges, and that can go on the student's transcript or their diploma, whatever the district chooses. So here's some of the requirements of the plan. It has to align to a single career pathway, and we have 7 of those. They are all required components. There are required components for each of the college and career pathway endorsements, but this gives you the opportunity to make this your own. You know, we're not, it's nothing specifically set in stone, but we have the components that you have to have. You need to work with your industry people. It has to align to those labor market needs. If your area is around manufacturing and you are offering a program that's not related to manufacturing, are you supporting that pipeline, the needs that are in that community? And you should be working with a post-secondary institution. Anytime we talk about a program of study, it's that transition from secondary to post-secondary with multiple entry and exit points. And a post-secondary should always be part of that conversation, and they should be part of your conversation when you're working on your endorsement. So what does it mean for a student? Well, a student is going to develop an individualized plan for their post-secondary, either training, career, financial aid, whatever it is. They need that support to get to that. They should have a career-focused instructional sequence. And when we say career-focused, we mean that it connects, whether it's dual, you have to have dual credit, and you have to have, it doesn't have to be CTE programs, but 9 times out of 10, it is a CTE program. There should be non-remedial coursework, which is where the transition math and English come in at, to help so that they don't have to repeat those initial courses when they get into college. And then they need to have a career exploration activity. It should be an intensive career exploration, or that meaning of a team-based challenge, and at least 60 cumulative hours of career development experience, work-based learning, apprenticeships, internships. So the district to report has 2 options. One, they must submit to the U.S. Department, to ISBE, an annual report each year that talks about the students that have earned an endorsement, what area, give us the student ID number, and we're working to help collect that information in a different process, but if you've worked with the state, things do not move fast, and so this is our way of getting this moving. Or a district can opt out. So in order to opt out, they have to submit specific information to the U.S. Department of Ed, and not to the U.S. Department of Ed, to ISBE, no later than July 1 of 2025, or it could be immediately. So it might be that some districts are going to do one endorsement, but maybe not in a subsequent endorsement. These are the endorsement areas. So we have agriculture, food, and natural resources, arts and communication, finance and business services, health sciences and technology, information technology, human and public services, manufacturing, engineering, technology, and trades. What I wanted to show here is the crosswalk. So we always talk about the 16 career clusters and how those all roll up into one of those endorsement areas. So there's a lot of opportunity here. We also have, like, the human and public service. A lot of people have gone into the education cluster. And so they look at a specific cluster, but it's within those endorsement areas. So it's growing. Our endorsements have grown. In 2020, we only had 5 endorsements that were awarded. 21, we went to 47. But in 23, we went up to 1,071. Students. I anticipate it to be much, much higher this year. It'll be interesting to see what we end up with, but these numbers will look like nothing compared to what we have. We have 289 districts that have approved endorsements right now, and you can see how it's spread throughout the state. We've got some pockets that we need to work on, but overall, everybody's getting on board and working on that. So here is so when I told you we had 1,071 students that received endorsements, of those 1,071, 964 were high school graduates. So some were juniors. So this data I'm sharing with you is of the graduates. And now I want us to think about, as we talked earlier, about equity. So for the endorsements, 625 were female, 339 were male. Now, when you break it down by race, ethnicity, this is the area that we really need to pay attention to. 571 were white. Only 21 were black. Makes me wonder, well, what's going on? Why is that happening? And when Dr. Lovett showed his data, you could see some of the same things happening. We got an equity issue as we look at this, and we have to make sure that all students have this opportunity. So here's the area and career pathway earners broken out by the endorsement areas. You can see here, and I'll bring it to the question about the HPS, which is the Human and Public Services. Remember, I was telling you a lot have done education. Looking at that, 308 were females, only 58 were males. How do we get more males to be educators? And then again, looking at our numbers, only 3. We really, how important is it that students are taught, by somebody who looks like them? And we need to make sure that we recruit all of these students into this area. You can also see that some of the other numbers are a little bit lower. I mean, health science, that, you're talking about your health occupations in there. Again, 234 female, 34 male. A lot of that is a non-traditional, just like the education career pathway, non-traditional for males. And we also have, and in MET, I'm really surprised, to be honest, with the ag, that there isn't more, because ag does a lot in Illinois. And for some reason, there isn't a push right now for those endorsements. Why is that? What's going on there? So the data just really makes us think, how do we as a community look at endorsements differently? How do we share that information? How do we recruit and retain students into these areas? So here, again, is some of the components of the career pathway. And I really wanted to just show the visual of what this plan looks like. And that it takes, a big part of components in order to get to that high school diploma. So when we're talking about the individual plan, when we talk about post-secondary career readiness, we think about, well, when we're working on those plans, how are we supporting those students? How do we help get them from post-secondary, or from secondary to post-secondary? What's that transition look like? How do we, what supports do we need to give them? And then, are we collecting all that information when we talked about where is a student after they graduate from high school? Are we following that student up? So one of the things that we've offered this year is, or the last few years, is an education career pathway grant. We've got a lot of students in there. 10,000 or more students are in that pathway program, several hundred districts. But what we decided is we decided to do an additional grant to follow those students onto secondary, to post-secondary, to see, are we supporting them? Okay, they're going in as a freshman. We wanted to make sure that those students, when they go into a freshman, are they continuing on in their, if they wanted to go into Ed Pathway, are they getting the supports they needed? Are they able to complete that teacher training? What supports are needed? And it seems to be, what we're learning is that it is making a difference in investing in that time. And then, we've got that literacy planning and, what roles, responsibilities do we have for the work that we need to do for post-secondary students in career planning? How do we support that? How do we keep them going, engaging in that? We've got to engage our post-secondary partner. Whenever you're working on your plan, you need to think about, well, how can the post-secondary partner be engaged? I know that many times we hear post-secondary doesn't want to work with secondary. But I also hear secondary doesn't want to work with post-secondary. So we have to figure out a way that we can work together and that we find that we're meeting the needs of the student. So, talking to them when you develop your credentials, how do the two work together? And then, letting the students know about all the different credentials that are available to them. There is, yes, there's industry recognized credentials that they can do. Are we offering those industry credentials? I mean, when you talk to a student who's maybe been in welding, I talked to one student, he earned 7 welding certificates and is graduating and going into welding, making $70,000. That's a lot for a high school student. But then you have other areas where you need to go on and get your a certificate at the post-secondary, or you need your associates, or even going on to the bachelor's degree. And I mean, I'm talking to the choir here, you all know this, but the students don't know this. This is how we have to support them and let them know. There's multiple entry and exit points as we talk about a program of study and how you can, if you're not ready to go on to college, that's okay. Let's do this, but maybe you have a plan to come back in and do an associate's degree. Or maybe you can do both at the same time. But they don't know this. And I have a granddaughter it's just like gets to be too much for her to, and so they just shut down. And we need to help them. We need to support them. These are the ELA academic indicators. So in order, again, part of the career pathway endorsement is an ELA indicator. So these are some of the ways that you can collect that and be compliant with these areas. I even talked about the transitional English on here earlier, but these are some of the areas where we can pull it. It's where it's reported. I mean, for many, if you don't have a pathway already, you probably have a lot of the components and you just need to put it together into a plan. And so it's just sitting back and looking at that. And then this is the math indicator component that they can get in their high school junior, senior year. And again, transitional math's on there, dual credits on there, AP, IB. There's a lot of different opportunities to be compliant for that endorsement. Any questions so far? So, as I said, one of the components is professional learning. So we need to give them opportunities to take what they've learned in the classroom and apply it for it to make sense to them. So we have the career exploration activities, we have team-based challenges, and we have the career experience internships. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and I know we say sometimes, well, it's hard to do an internship and apprenticeship. I understand. Especially for rural communities where there's not a lot of business and industry in those rural communities. So what other ways can we get them the internship? Do we let them go do something at the school? Is there something in the community where they could do some service? I mean, we have to, unfortunately, sometimes we have to think outside of the box to support that. So whenever you do this, here's some other opportunities for career exploration. And when you talk to a business and industry and you say, I want you to come in, we need you to be engaged, and they'll go, well, I don't know how to help. Well, these are some of the ways that you can bring them in. Could we go and just do a worksite tour? I mean, one of the things I hear a lot about is that parents don't want their child to go into manufacturing because that's a dirty job. But that was a long time ago. If you went into a manufacturing company now, and you haven't been in one, you would be surprised how clean it is. And it's not dirty anymore, and it pays really well. And so going on these worksite tours opens that opportunity up. How can I job shadow? If I want to go into accounting, can I job shadow an accountant? Career-related service learning. Can they go out into the community and do something related to their career that they're interested in? Their mentorship, team-based challenges, as we talked about, and then career and technical student organizations. We have a lot of students who are not given the opportunity to be in a career and technical student organization, and this is a way for them to apply what they're learning in school. Team-based challenges. There are different ways to do team-based challenges, but it needs to be one of those authentic problems. It's not something that you just do as an assignment. It is something that has to be a true problem. So is it a problem that a teacher created? Is it a problem that you addressed with somebody in the business and industry and let them tell you? And then the student has to interact. They have to work together as a team. We all are part of team, and we have to help students understand what it's like to work in that dynamic for being a team. And then they have to have one pathway-specific technical competency, which we have competencies on our page for each of the endorsement areas. And then the essential skills. I don't know how about you, but anytime I talk to a business or industry person, I'll say, what is it you need? And they just say, give me somebody who's going to come to work on time, who can relate to people. They need those essential skills. And then create a final product, a presentation. So here's my problem, here's my answer to that problem. And then when we talk about the career development experiences, these are the different opportunities that we've talked about already: a work-based learning experience, internships, even in ag, we have the supervised ag experiences that they do. Research apprenticeships. There's a lot more opportunities now for students to do that research and to understand the data and what's behind all of that. School-based enterprises, student-led enterprises, and then youth apprenticeships. The U.S. Department of the Department of Labor has a public comment period out right now about how do we change apprenticeships, and one of the things they're adding is a CTE apprenticeship. So it'll be interesting to see how that all folds out. When we talk about the career development experience, we've talked about that, making sure that we have a mentor as part of that career development experience, but it can also be a virtual workplace. How can you do some authentic? And this is where it would be really helpful for rural programs to do in a virtual workplace. So challenges. We've had a lot of challenges that we have seen as Heather has gone through to approve these career pathway endorsements as people submit that. One of the biggest ones has been the team-based challenges. It's hard for districts to understand sometimes that it shouldn't be specific. You shouldn't tell the student that, don't give them guiding questions. It's like a problem-based learning or project-based learning where you tell them the problem and they come up with that answer. For example, one of the examples was in CNA, and it's like, well, shaving a patient. Well, how do you properly shave a patient? That's a skill. That's not problem-based learning. Or in education, you tell them to create a lesson plan. It's not creating a lesson plan. It's taking that lesson plan and coming up with resources and support and presenting that lesson plan. It's got to be authentic. So you have to give them that lesson and then say, well, what's missing? And let them figure out what that's like. So we kind of describe it sometimes like it's a formative assessment, not a summative assessment. Problem-based learning, it should be, it should be creative. It shouldn't be something that has an answer. Each team might come up with something totally different as they work on their solution. Oops. We've talked about career exploration. I was trying to get my notes here. Anyways, thinking about the career exploration and what that looks like and how you can give them opportunities to learn more. Sometimes we don't think it's more than just a career fair. We sometimes think that's the way to do it, but if you're going to do a career fair, then you need to give them, you need to prepare them going in so that they have the interview skills they need. They need to be able to talk to the individuals, ask questions, and then when they come back, they need to write a report or write something or share what they learned. So it's more than just going to a career fair. It's a struggle to line to post-secondary many times and thinking about what a community college or a college is offering and how your endorsement is going to align to that. It's also been a struggle to just do career development experiences we've talked about with work-based learning and being able to offer that opportunity. But again, we don't just send the student out. As you all know, it needs to be a way where we also prepare them. We give them essential skills, employability skills, and we meet with them on a regular basis. We mentor them. We want to make them strong employees. And then the industry partners, we need to engage industry more than the way we've engaged them in the past. And like I said, I shared you a few examples earlier, but business wants to be involved, but they don't know how to be involved. And in the same respect, districts want industry to be involved, but they don't know how to get them involved. So when you do your local needs assessment, this is when you work with them and you talk to them and you say, what can we do, and start small. And then it grows and it blossoms from there. And it just needs to be more opportunities to engage them. Maybe it's talking to them about the pathway that you're creating, but maybe it's the courses that are being offered, or it's the equipment that you're purchasing. They're always there. They want to be there. They want to be, and they know that your students are their pipeline. So find ways to work with your business and industry person and engage as many as you can. It also shows the student how there is a connection there and that they know you're talking to one another. This is the work-based learning continuum. Ed Systems we've worked with them on developing this. And what I want to kind of bring to your attention is you can see the color scheme. So the blue shows, as a school district, where your engagement is. And then as it slowly goes down the continuum, then you see the employer role grow. Because now you're almost handing the student off to the employer. And, you've prepared them and they know what it is. So this is a great tool for all of us to remember all the components that are work-based learning. So work-based learning is part of the U.S. Department of Ed in Perkins. We mentioned WIOA earlier. Work-based learning is part of that. And it's engaging everyone and making sure that they're in the right field. So when we talk about work-based learning, if a student is in a welding class, for example. You want to make sure that the student has a work-based learning in welding. It wouldn't make sense to put them in a business class or a business, working with an accountant, for example, because that's all that's available. That's not helping the student. It's either one, going to say, well, why would I do this? There's not a demand, and how can I learn more? And it's also like a career exploration. Now I'm taking what I've learned in the classes, and I am being able to engage and feel like I'm making a contribution, and I'm finding where my true passion is. That's a challenge, I know, for all of us, to be able to develop work-based learning opportunities that are related to the career pathways. But we have to keep that as a focus. Again, these are some of the different things we talked about earlier when we talked about where the lowest level of employer engagement is to the higher level. But these are some of the opportunities. When you're working with your business and industry, these are all the different areas that they can be engaged in. I know I showed the career exploration, but you can do career awareness activities even down into the elementary grades. This is another way to start that early career exploration. So when they get into high school, they know which courses they're interested in and they want to participate in. And then these are the workplace learning experiences that I just talked about, but these are the ones that really have the highest level of employer engagement. So I'm going to toss it out to you and ask you some questions and some thoughts. But how do you think a college and career pathway endorsement would apply to an employer? If an employer came up to you and said, what does that mean? How would you respond? What's your thoughts? When you think about manufacturing, you think, oh, I'm working on a machine. But really, if we let the student know all the different opportunities that are just in a manufacturing company, right? There's accounting, there's HR, there's data, there's all these different opportunities that students aren't aware of. That it's again, and this gives that business the opportunity to share and show all of that as well to the students. And like you said, it just shows that they're career ready, that they have what they need to go into to start working for them. I've heard. And you might have other ideas, like from the businesses you've talked to that a student comes to them with an endorsement. I've heard that some businesses have said, if you have an endorsement, I will guarantee you an interview. I'm not going to guarantee you a job, but I will guarantee you an interview, which is huge. 'Cause sometimes you don't even make it through that screening process. And then, I know there's universities and colleges who are offering opportunities as well. I know Sauk Valley was offering a discount off of tuition. And I know that others are offering different opportunities as they move along. And so there's some currency when it comes to the endorsements also. Have you heard from any other businesses, if they got somebody with an endorsement, what they use that for? I think we need to do marketing of it. I think we need to work better with our business and industry to know more about that. And I know that we've created a work-based learning database to have employer champions to highlight, when they're engaging with a student in work-based learning, apprenticeships, internships, and we don't have a lot of businesses in there yet. That's growing. But maybe one of our next things is, working better with DCEO, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, to share that information, maybe presenting on the college and career pathway endorsements, and to know what the values are of that. Okay, just a few more things that I want to share with you. We've developed a work-based learning manual. We're in the process of always updating it. But this gives you some examples of how to do and I shouldn't say how to do, what it looks like for different types of work-based learning, career exploration, and some ideas in there. We've got the link for the college and career pathway endorsements. There's a lot of resources in there. We have a college and career pathway user group that meets, Jason, monthly? Yeah.
For meetings, and there's emails going out all the time.
Yes. So there's a lot of resources and support for districts as they want to develop their pathways. Heather Lucan is the one that is leading that work. So she's available to provide support, talk to your district, whatever you may need. And then the other piece that I want to share is we have a career guide. It's on our website. And you can purchase the career guides through EdTech Media. It's not anything that ISBE benefits from, but it's the hard copies of career guides in all of the 16 career clusters. It talks about the different like degrees you would need to have and what your salary may be, and different areas to go into in each of the 16 clusters. But you could also do it digitally. So you wouldn't have to purchase it. You can use it digitally to share with your students. There's a lot of opportunities and ways to engage that career guide, and I hope that you find opportunities. We have 1 year, or first year, we did 5 different languages in it. We didn't have much in a way of purchase or downloads on it, so right now we've just left that. It doesn't change that much year to year. We just try to freshen it up a little bit. There is, in the new ones, there's a career guide assessment that a student can do, and to be able to mark off and check off what they are, and maybe to help them figure out maybe what another way that they want to look to another career cluster area. So I will end with, if there's any other questions you may have for me. We have I don't have this up here, well, no. I have my contact information up here. We have a website for CTE where everything that I've talked about will be listed, and it's just isbe.net/CTE. But staff is there available to help you if you need support, and I'm here if you have questions. Okay, thank you.